The Three Jewels of Buddhism, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Welcome, dear listeners, to our spiritual exploration of the Three Jewels of Buddhism, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. As we engage in this discourse, it is my hope that we will uncover layers of understanding and find solace in the wisdom of these ancient teachings. Our conversation begins with the Buddha, the enlightened one, the first of the three jewels. Gautama Buddha, a prince who forsook the comforts of his palace to seek the truth of human suffering, is not merely a historical figure but an embodiment of potential that lies within each of us. Taking refuge in the Buddha is to acknowledge this potential, to accept that within our grasp is the possibility of awakening. The Buddha, having witnessed the realities of aging, illness, and death, set out on a quest for liberation from suffering. In his awakening beneath the Bodhi tree, he found a path beyond the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, a path to nirvana. In recognizing the Buddha, we see the reflection of our true nature, the unblemished awareness that observes without attachment, that experiences without aversion. Now, let us turn our attention to the Dharma, the second jewel. The Dharma is the truth realized by the Buddha, a path laid out for all sentient beings to follow. It encompasses the teachings and practices that guide us toward the cessation of suffering and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion. The Dharma is not static. It is a living, breathing wisdom that evolves with our understanding and application. In taking refuge in the Dharma, we commit ourselves to the practice of the Eightfold Path, to the study of the sutras, and to the incorporation of Buddhist principles into our daily life. It is through the Dharma that we learn the impermanent nature of all things, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the roots of our deepest afflictions. The third jewel, the Sangha, is the community of practitioners who walk the path together. The Sangha provides support, wisdom, and companionship on this spiritual journey. It is within this community that we find strength in shared experiences, encouragement in times of doubt, and the collective energy that propels us toward enlightenment. Taking refuge in the Sangha is to embrace the collective journey. It is to understand that while our paths are personal, they are also interconnected with the lives of countless others. The Sangha shows us that our individual liberation is bound to the liberation of all sentient beings. In the scope of our lives, taking refuge in the Three Jewels offers a sanctuary from the tumultuous sea of samsara, the cycle of existence. It is a declaration that despite the outward chaos, we seek an inner peace that is unshaken by life's transient nature. We might now consider the Buddha's own journey to enlightenment. He was a seeker just as we are, yet he found a way through the forest of suffering. What is it that the Buddha discovered which we are still seeking? It is the profound understanding that suffering arises from our desires, our aversions, and our ignorance. By addressing these root causes, we too can find the peace that the Buddha embodied. As we practice the teachings of the Buddha, we must also be aware of the pitfalls of spiritual materialism, treating the spiritual path as yet another form of achievement or possession. The Dharma teaches us to let go of these tendencies, to practice for the sake of practice without attachment to outcomes. Within the Sangha, we learn the value of humility and the power of vulnerability. By sharing our struggles and insights, we open ourselves to the wisdom of the collective. The Sangha stands as a testament to the truth that we are not alone in our quest for understanding. Rather, we are part of a vast web of life, all seeking the same ultimate truth. As we walk the path outlined by the Dharma, we find that our lives begin to change. Our values shift, our actions become more mindful, and our hearts open to the suffering of others. The Dharma is not meant to be a refugee from the world, but rather a tool to engage with it more fully with greater compassion and wisdom. Taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha does not mean we relinquish personal responsibility. On the contrary, it empowers us to take greater responsibility for our actions, our thoughts, and our words. It encourages us to live with intention, to practice mindfulness, and to cultivate the qualities of the heart that lead to true freedom. As we draw to the end of this first part, we recognize that taking refuge is only the beginning. It is the commitment to a lifelong practice, a promise to ourselves and to all beings that we will strive to awaken, to learn, and to grow. It is in this spirit that we continue our exploration of the Three Jewels. The Luminous Path, Illuminating the Buddha Within. In our ongoing immersion into the Three Jewels, we now delve deeper into the essence of what it means to truly take refuge in the Buddha. This is not about idolizing a figure, but about recognizing and nurturing the qualities of the Buddha that lie dormant within each of us. The Buddha nature is not exclusive or distant. It is as close to us as our very breath, as intimate as our thoughts. Taking refuge in the Buddha is a commitment to awakening the qualities of clarity, wisdom, and compassion within ourselves. We are not worshiping an external savior, but honoring the potential for enlightenment inherent in our own nature. It is an acknowledgement that enlightenment is not bestowed upon us. It is a state that we actively cultivate through our own efforts. The historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was once like any of us, a person of flesh and blood grappling with the profound questions of life. His awakening is a testament to the transformative power of human consciousness. When we take refuge in the Buddha, we affirm our own capacity for transformation, for cultivating a mind free from delusions. In the light of the Buddha's wisdom, we might ask, what are the seeds of enlightenment that we can nurture in our daily lives? How can we embody the compassion and mindfulness that the Buddha taught? The answers lie not in grand gestures, but in the minute details of our everyday interactions and choices. As practitioners on the path, we cultivate mindfulness through meditation, through being present in the moment, through observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Each mindful breath is a step closer to the Buddha within. Each act of kindness is a reflection of the compassion that the Buddha embodied. Taking refuge in the Dharma requires us to engage with the teachings not as abstract concepts but as living truths to be realized in our own experience. The Dharma is not a dogma to be blindly followed, but a map to be tested and verified in the laboratory of our own lives. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path provide a framework for our practice. They are not merely philosophical ideas, but practical tools. The first noble truth, the acknowledgement of suffering, invites us to look deeply into our own lives, to recognize the ways in which we create our own suffering through clinging and aversion. The second noble truth speaks of the cause of suffering, our desires and attachments. Here, the Dharma asks us to examine the transient nature of our cravings, to see how our attachments lead to inevitable suffering when what we cling to changes or disappears. The third noble truth offers a ray of hope, the cessation of suffering. It's an invitation to consider what life might be like if we let go of our clinging, if we stopped identifying so strongly with our fleeting desires and aversions. The fourth noble truth lays out the path to this cessation, the Eightfold Path, which guides us in right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each aspect of the path is an opportunity to bring our lives into harmony with the wisdom of the Dharma. Taking refuge in the Sangha, we recognize the value of spiritual friendship and the importance of community in our practice. The Sangha is where we find our mentors, our peers, and those to whom we can offer guidance. It is a circle of support where we both give and receive, where we learn the importance of generosity and the joy of shared understanding. In the Sangha, we are reminded that we are not alone in our struggles or our aspirations. Our personal liberation is intimately connected to the liberation of others. The Sangha provides a space where we can practice the Dharma in relationship with others, where we can learn the delicate art of living together with compassion and wisdom. As we bring this second part of our exploration to a close, we reflect on the significance of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as a daily practice. It is not a single act, but an ongoing commitment to cultivate the qualities of enlightenment within ourselves and to share the fruits of our practice with all beings. The Tapestry of Truth, Weaving Wisdom into Life. Moving further into our profound journey, we now seek to integrate the wisdom of the Dharma into the very fabric of our lives. The Dharma, the sacred teachings of the Buddha, is a vast ocean of wisdom that can seem overwhelming in its depth and breadth. Yet, in its most essential form, it is the truth of what is, a guiding light that leads us to liberation from suffering. To immerse oneself in the Dharma is to engage in a process of continuous learning and unlearning. It is to understand that the teachings are not static but dynamic, reflecting the ever-changing nature of existence itself. The Dharma is not something we simply learn, it is something we live. It becomes the lens through which we view our experiences, the values that inform our decisions, and the compass that guides our actions. The Dharma teaches us about impermanence, one of the most fundamental aspects of reality. All things are subject to change. Nothing is fixed or permanent. This realization can be unsettling, but it also carries with it a profound sense of freedom. When we truly understand impermanence, we begin to loosen our grip on the transient things of life and open ourselves to a deeper appreciation of the present moment. With the wisdom of impermanence comes the teaching of no self or anatta. The belief in a permanent, unchanging self is seen as an illusion, a source of much of our suffering. By observing the ever-changing flow of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, we come to see that what we call the self is just a process, a continual becoming. This insight can transform our relationship with ourselves and with the world. The Dharma also teaches us about dukkha, often translated as suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha arises from our resistance to the way things are, from our desire to cling to what is pleasant and to push away what is unpleasant. By understanding dukkha, we learn to navigate life's challenges with grace and to find peace even amidst difficulty. As we embody the Dharma, our practice deepens. We learn the art of meditation, which is not just a technique but a way of being. Meditation allows us to cultivate a mind that is stable and clear, a heart that is open and compassionate. It is in the stillness of meditation that we often find the wisdom to handle the complexities of life. The Sangha, the community of fellow practitioners, becomes the nurturing ground for our practice of the Dharma. In the Sangha, we find not only support and encouragement, but also the precious opportunity to practice patience, generosity, and empathy. The Sangha is where we learn to live the Dharma in our relationships with others. Taking refuge in the Sangha, we commit to building and maintaining a community that embodies the principles of the Dharma. We recognize that our own enlightenment is inseparable from the well-being of others. The Sangha is a manifestation of the interdependence that the Buddha taught, a living example of how our lives are intertwined. In the Sangha, we also encounter the Bodhisattva ideal, the aspiration to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all beings. The Bodhisattva path is one of selfless service, where we work for the liberation of all, not just ourselves. This path is marked by the practice of the paramitas or perfections, such as generosity, ethical conduct, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. As we continue our practice, we may find that the lines between the individual and the collective begin to blur. We start to see that our own liberation is bound up with the liberation of all sentient beings. The Sangha provides the context in which we can live out the truth of interdependence, where we can practice being a source of peace and healing in the world. As we conclude this third part, we reflect on how taking refuge in the Dharma and the Sangha enables us to weave the strands of wisdom into the tapestry of our daily lives. The Dharma becomes not just a philosophy, but a way of life, and the Sangha becomes not just a community, but a family, a circle of belonging where we support each other on the path to enlightenment. The Summit of Serenity, embracing the infinite dance of enlightenment. In the final ascent of our spiritual odyssey, we arrive at a vantage point where the expanse of the path behind us lays the groundwork for the ultimate steps ahead. This is where the journey inward and outward converge, where the essence of our practice illuminates the world beyond the cushion and the temple walls. It is the culmination of our collective endeavor to live a life imbued with the wisdom of the Buddha. Our path has been one of profound transformation, a metamorphosis of the heart and mind. We have learned to see through the veils of illusion, to understand the impermanence of all things, and to embrace the reality of interconnection. We have discovered that the refuge we sought was within us all along, that enlightenment is not a distant realm but a present potential. The summit of serenity is not a place of arrival but a state of being. It is the tranquility that comes from knowing we are in harmony with the way things are. It is the joy that arises from acting with compassion and wisdom. It is the boundless love that flows from the recognition of our shared humanity and the interconnectedness of all life. On this summit, we understand that enlightenment is not a static achievement, but a dynamic process. It is the infinite dance of awareness and compassion, of wisdom and action, of stillness and engagement. The dance is both the journey and the destination, each step a manifestation of the truth of the Dharma. As dedicated practitioners, we have come to appreciate that our actions have ripples that extend far beyond our immediate perception. Each word, each gesture, each thought carries with it the potential to harm or heal, to create discord or harmony. With this understanding, we approach each moment with a sense of sacred responsibility, knowing that we are participants in the co-creation of our shared reality. The teachings of the Buddha have shown us that every act of kindness, every moment of mindfulness, every effort to understand is a step on the path to enlightenment. We have learned that the smallest act performed with love and intention can have profound effects. We are gardeners of the spirit, cultivating conditions conducive to growth, not just for ourselves but for all beings. The Sangha, our spiritual family, has been a mirror reflecting our progress and our challenges. In the warmth of the Sangha's embrace, we have learned the true meaning of fellowship and the transformative power of collective aspiration. Together, we have built a sanctuary of the heart, a community where the lamp of the Dharma burns brightly to dispel the darkness of ignorance and suffering. As we stand on this summit, we look out upon the world with eyes of wisdom and hearts of compassion. We see the beauty and the tragedy, the joy and the suffering, and we know that our work is never done. The path of enlightenment is endless, for it is the path of love, and love knows no bounds. In this final part of our journey, we affirm our commitment to the path of the Buddha, to continue to seek wisdom, to practice compassion, and to share the blessings of the Dharma with all. We acknowledge that the peace we seek for ourselves is inseparable from the peace we create in the world. We vow to be beacons of light in the darkness, to be the change we wish to see, to dance the dance of enlightenment with every step we take. As we embrace the infinite dance of enlightenment, we realize that the summit is not the end of our journey, but a new beginning. It is the starting point for a life lived with purpose, a life of service, a life that celebrates the sacredness of each moment. It is here, on the summit of serenity, that we truly understand the words of the Buddha. In this world, hate never yet dispelled hate. Only love dispels hate. This is the law, ancient and inexhaustible. Let us then go forth from this summit, carrying with us the light of the Dharma and the warmth of the Sangha, ready to meet the world with a heart full of love and hands ready to serve. This is our path. This is our vow. This is our life. May all beings find peace. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings awaken to the luminous path of the Buddha within. And so, we continue,